It's time for some correction. William D. Porter is actually pretty good for bossing, but still she's gonna stay A tier for chapters. There's still no news about the data mine banning, but apparently it's limited to only the official Discord. The admin's initial announcement made it seem like it would apply to other platforms as well. But still, I'm not gonna risk it for myself, so disclaimer, all numbers needed for these calculations were taken from the wiki or other sources. So first problem was that I missed that Willie D has a 5% permanent fleet buff, and that basically brings her from B tier straight to S tier for bossing, just like Z52 and Trafalgar. She's gonna be slightly worse than them in the general case because she's just less tanky, but she'll be easily best in slot in specific cases, like obviously USS fleet. And people bash me for ignoring history on the previous video, but I'm gonna say that I know more than the average Gooner, but I don't mention that in the channel because this channel is for concise gameplay performance. If you want to learn about history, you can watch those documentaries. I bolded the differences, but just in case you didn't watch the previous video, I'll go through all of it again. She has the lowest luck of all non-research ships, and that affects her DPS and survivability negatively. So she's got bad DPS for a UR at least. Well, not exactly bad, but on the low end. She can use the fast guns though, which is cheap for new players. Survivability is good enough for mob, still 110% or actually 113% of Portland for mobbing in campaign where there are enemy planes to shoot down. For a single boss battle without planes, it's more like 91% after you give her slower torps to sync with the main fleet. She has decently high fleet AA contribution, like not San Diego level, but perhaps about Shimanto, and that includes a 30% AA buff for the whole Vanguard. Whenever she fires her equipped torps, she boosts the flagship and all American ships' damage by 10% for 10 seconds, and also some evasion or healing. So for campaign, you will want to use the fast torps so that she can heal more. For bossing though, you should sync the torps to the main fleet to fire before the main fleet does. Faster torps will give worse personal damage but better healing. She also has an effectively permanent debuff on enemies that make them take 5% more damage and have 8% lower hit. DPS is still the same. These fast torps are for mobbing or campaign. If you give her improved quad mags or some bossing torps, then this DPS will be slightly higher. Here's an example possible light bossing fleet, against light bosses that is. If you read Lexington 2's skills, you would know that she's the best pairing for Yorktown 2, but why is Yorktown 2 not in this fleet? That's because Lion is just that good. Of course, Yorktown 2 could still be BIS over Lion, but that requires testing, and the difference will be pretty small. And there's no way to test, actually, because there's no relevant light boss in the endgame that has enough HP to test on. So here she's using improved quad mags with a gold burn, and that brings her reload down to 17.5 seconds. And that is needed to go before the main fleet ships fire, especially carriers. This torpedo has to fire before the carrier launches her airstrike, while for battleships, the shells could be in the air and then Willie could launch her torpedoes and the buff will still apply. Even if the torp is a bit late, the BB's second and third volleys will still get the buff. But for carriers, the torpedo must be before that carrier launches an airstrike. So if you don't have gold burn, you can use this Iris Quad torp in the Gear Lab. It's actually also good for light damage, only slightly behind the improved quad mag and better than everything else including normal quad mags. Now she is S tier for the bossing categories like Z52 and Trafalgar. Well, her tiers are all the same as Trafalgar. For campaign, she needs improvement though, so only A tier because the S tier ships like Z52, Guan, and Laffy 2 have better or just as much AA as her, and they tank much better. So still, Willie is worth obtaining. For new players, Rainbow Booleans are limited, so they'll want to max Lexington 2 before Willie. And even then, you want to consider whether you want to push campaign or improve your bossing. For endgame players, currently Willie is only useful for the USS fleet, or other fleets if Z52 survivability is not necessary, which will usually not be the case. And unfortunately, USS fleet has no relevant light boss to fight against for the next few months at least, since the current Meta Showdown boss is Yorktown, and Meta Showdown is the only relevant endgame content. Everything else like Hard Arbiter and Challenge Mode have stagnated for several years already, and Meta Showdown is the only one with increasingly difficult new content.